It's 7 o'clock and I'd like to call together the October 24th, 2024 school committee meeting. If you would please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this evening we have our consent agenda posted, as well as the minutes from the October 10th, 2024 meeting. And the oath, bills, and payroll. So is there a motion to accept? I heard Janine first. Motion made by Janine. Seconded. There you go. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. So first opportunity for interested citizens. Check on Zoom. Seeing and hearing from no one, we'll move into our recognition portion of the evening. Raquel Rodriguez, you have the student representative report for us tonight.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
For Shaker Lane, the Shaker Lane students are looking forward to the Halloween parade next Thursday at 1:50, and community members are welcome. Shaker Lane would also like to invite the community to their joint cultural fair with Russell Street on Wednesday, November 6th from 5 to 7 p.m. The event will consist of family presentations and other activities that promote global cultural experience for students and families. For Russell Street students, the Russell Street students had a successful safety drill last week, and they are grateful for LPD and signups for teacher conferences will be coming next week. Teachers will reach out to the families to schedule a time to meet and discuss students' progress so far this year. At the middle school, LMS hosted their first grade 6 kids night out on last Friday, and the kids had a blast. They will open their doors for the grade 7 and 8 Halloween dance on Friday from 5:30 to 7:30, and parent conferences are approaching, and they will have an email soon. For the high school, Model UN and Drama Club hosted the first annual lip sync battle last Thursday, which was the big hit. This past Friday, we had the homecoming football game, and Saturday following the homecoming dance. There was a Dawnland screening for Q&A on Monday as well. And then coming up, we have the PSATs on Saturday, mostly for sophomores, also juniors. Play the Day Spooky Edition is next Wednesday. Term 1 ends next week as well, marking term 2 starting the week following. And then November 7th, Sweets and Sweets, 7 p.m. high school cafeteria for band.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any questions for Raquel? Anything additional you'd like to share? Good. Perfect.
Thank you.
Steve Markovich hitting for Superintendent Clenchey tonight. Another point of
I don't think
recognition.
I'm filling in, but I do have one recognition. We did receive a check from the Mighty Oak Fund for $2,000. It's not tied to anything, so it's at the discretion of the superintendent. So we will bring that to the admin council and decide where to best use those funds. But we'd like to thank Bobby Chenerick and the Mighty Oak Fund for his donation again this year.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mighty Oak Fund. All right, we have 2 presentations this evening scheduled, as well as subcommittee reports. We usually roll those pretty quickly, but I think I'd like to hear a little bit more about Shaker Lane since we had some things happen recently, some public sessions. So we'll start with our presentations. The first one is financial budget update. Steve Mark, business manager, will give a financial and budget update.
Reports in your packet, reports on the screen. It's been my mantra all year. We're in good shape. I did a quick analysis on salaries, expected salaries for this year, and we're right on budget wise for that. We're watching some expenses. We do have a couple of unanticipated expenses that we're watching. We believe we can cover those through other areas and savings within the budget. We're going to have to hire a temporary central office staff for maternity leave, and that's going to cost probably a little bit more than we had anticipated. But overall, we're in really good shape. So be glad to answer questions or provide additional information.
Other than this is one of those things where when we say too much, we get questions. Other than the maternity leave, what's an example of some of the other expenses that are coming?
We have a fire panel at the Russell Street School that needs to be repaired. Some of the strobes aren't working, so we have to fix that. There are a couple other things I don't remember off the top of my head. I have a schedule in my office, but it's about $70,000 or $80,000 worth of items that we're unanticipated expenses that we didn't budget for. So, and I can provide that list next meeting if you prefer.
Great, be helpful.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty all set with that topic? Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tonight's feature presentation, District Professional Development Plan for the 2024 school year. Elizabeth Steele, Director of Teaching and Learning. Today it says brief, but we're allotting 15 minutes. So please take all 15 minutes. This is a topic that's very important to the district and the school committee.
Thank you. I'll try to stick to the brief 15 minutes of time that we have for this plan today. So I'm happy to share our professional development plan with you this evening. I think it's important to note that this is the PD plan for professional learning happens all the time in structured and unstructured ways. And so our PD plan, the areas of focus, we continue with Universal Design for Learning. We've been talking about that for a couple of years now, so UDL. We continue to look at it and dive deeper into it. And what we are really focusing on is really trying to live it, right? So not just kind of one and done 1 year, right? We've been sitting in it for a little while. So it's something that's on all of our minds that when we're out and about, we're seeing it in action and really embracing it and doing it and implementing it ourselves. In addition to UDL, particularly at our elementary level, we're focusing on literacy with our new Wit and Wisdom literacy program. Those are our large areas of focus that are kind of taking up a lot of the mental space that's happening, but there's a whole lot of other things happening at the same time, including recently updated comprehensive health and mental education standards, social emotional learning, multi-tiered system of support, culturally responsive teaching practices, elementary math, which we're still working to improve and continue implementation, and technology and AI as it comes and continues to progress and change. So you can see that we have a couple of major focus areas, but there's always a lot happening. And we are committed to providing ongoing embedded professional development throughout the school year for all of our educators. And as you'll see, we try to provide some options and different ways to learn and to have our professional learning. And it's just like our students, right? And it's just like plants. Hence the theme of our slides this evening, is that we all require a little something different, right? We don't all learn at the same rate. We don't all learn through the same thing. And so we are trying to make sure that we're providing enough access points and avenues for people to invest in themselves and in their learning in ways that they would like. On our next slide, we have our PD calendar for this year. And so you will see the structure of our professional development is that we have 10 early release days. In addition to that, we have our first day back, where we always try to organize a short PD opportunity on that day, really to engage again together as a staff and to center our work for the year. We also have the Cross-District Professional Development Day, which is coming up very shortly in just under 2 weeks on November 5th. And then there's other opportunities throughout the year, right? We provide typically at least 1 or 2 summer structured opportunities for professional development. The summer is also a time that a lot of our educators do their own learning and coursework because they have a little bit more bandwidth to do that during the summertime. We have upcoming professional development opportunities. We have a document that constantly is updated. It started actually during the pandemic as an opportunity to just kind of put things in one centralized location. And it's something that we've just upkept and continue to post on the website and share it with our staff of just different opportunities. Some that are consistently offered, and then others that are one-time opportunities we'll put on that document for everyone to see. And then our staff take courses, as I said, a lot of times during the summer, but throughout the school year, they will take courses as well as attending conferences and workshops of this sort. What's interesting about the conferences is that a lot of our staff are members of their professional organizations. And so, for example, the professional organizations will meet across the country in different places. This year, the National Council for Social Studies is actually meeting in Boston in mid to late November. And so we have a handful of our social sciences department members attending that conference. And so it's always nice when we're able to really support that and use tuition reimbursement funds to allow them to go to that for their professional learning. And it's nice that they get to go together. And it's always nice to sometimes learn with them. If we dive in a little bit deeper into our plan, the district plan, on the next slide, please. On our first day back, as I said, we try to have a opportunity for a brief professional development in some way, shape, or form. This year, our elementary reading literacy educators took part in Wit and Wisdom to get right in and get some background before the school year started. All other educators in the district took part in professional learning in a way that they wanted by using a PD playlist. And so you see a screenshot of the choice board of playlists there on the screen for you. So we have had a lot of conversations of, we no longer do the sit and get kind of PD. It's not as engaging for us, right? It's not producing, as an educator, what you want to get out of it. And so we constantly think about when we are offering PD, how do we offer PD that is engaging? And that's modeling what we're talking about, what we're trying to get to, right? And so this was a way for us to kind of model the UDL framework in a way that staff could pick what they wanted, dive into it, and learn in a way that felt right for them and to be most productive. And so the PD playlist, what you see here is the choice board. Each square is a playlist. And so what that means is that the staff members click on the link, and then on that document are several options. And so a lot of them have a section of several articles, and it's typically like read one or two of these articles. Then there's a listen section where there might be a few podcasts. There's a watch section where there might be a few short videos. And then there's a reflect section, a practice, or a create section, right? And so staff get to choose one or more than one from each of those categories to build their learning. And then they get to reflect and create and practice for that day. And so each one of those has that PD playlist. So our staff are really generating, right, their own learning in that way. What's nice about this PD playlist is that we took two of them, and you might be able to see if you zoom in, there's asterisks on two of them. And so those were kind of our model ones. And so the Connecticut State Board of Department of Education created playlists for their educational system. And I found them, and I was impressed by what they had offered and what they were looking like. And so we took those as two exemplars and brought that to our elementary curriculum council, our secondary curriculum council, and our administrative council. And then together, those three bodies of educator and administrator leaders created all the other playlists that you see there. And so what's nice is that this is not just me saying, this is what we need to work on, right? It's all of our leaders coming together saying, this would be an interesting topic for our educators to dive deeper in. This is something our educators are interested in. So that is a nice variety of options for our staff coming from their colleagues and their peers. The playlist is available and accessible to all of our educators throughout the entire school year. And so each playlist is 2 hours of professional learning. And so they can do that at any time, earn those professional learning hours, and they can bundle them together in order to earn their PDPs should they choose to do that. So that was the first day back, and then it has been used by a variety of staff members from the first day back and will continue throughout the entire school year. The district-based early release days, we just had one on October 23rd, and our next one is on December 11th. And the focus of those afternoons are curriculum mapping. And so just a really brief overview, a curriculum map is a method to document and align what we're doing in class, our instructional practices, our instructional activities with the standards that are given. And so it's a way for us to ensure that our curriculum, what we're doing, aligns with the standards and that there aren't any gaps that are missing. And so it's a multi-year process and a really collaborative effort to get to where we are with our curriculum mapping. Our ECC and our SCC, the Elementary Curriculum Council and Secondary Curriculum Council, have worked together over the past couple of years to create a template of our curriculum maps that will be usable for their colleagues in their departments and in their teams in order to do this work. And our key of coming at it was really to make it a living, breathing document. In education, sometimes a curriculum map can just be a check the box to say that we have it, we've documented, we're good to go, and then it's not looked at, which doesn't really feel like a really valuable use of time. And so we wanted to make sure that we're creating something that is beneficial, that can be used and passed on, and live longer and within the district to be supportive of those that are entering the district in future years as well. And so on those 2 early release days, all of our educators have the afternoons to be working on their curriculum mapping. And then the other district-based day, right, is that cross-district PD day. This year it's on November 5th, election day coming up in less than 2 weeks. It's the same 3 districts again, us with Harvard and Air Shirley. This year Air Shirley is hosting. And it really is one full day of choice and collaborative learning. What's interesting this year is that in the past, we've typically done like a keynote in the morning, something to bring everyone together to hear a similar message. And what we've heard and is that teachers really like the workshops. They really like to get into their interests and their specific ones that they want to attend. And so this year we're switching the day up and we're doing workshops. And so we're going to jump straight into 2 workshop sessions in the morning, lunch, and then a workshop session in the afternoon, followed by a final session of department and team time in the afternoon. So we're looking forward to that day on November 5th, just to give you an idea. Some of the workshops that we're going to have this year are support through connectivity, empowering families, embracing productive struggle for deeper learning, getting kids to love coming to school, AI, the new IEP, math games, unified sports and inclusion, co-teaching, and restorative circles. And that's just to name a few. There are several others that will be on that day. So we're looking forward to another collaborative day of cross-district learning. The other large piece of our early release days, right? So our district-based days are technically 2 of the early release days, and then we're able to kind of get in on that first day back, and then the cross-district day. Half of our early release days are faculty-led, and so our staff are the ones that actually get to decide to offer a professional development session or attend one that is being offered and facilitated by a colleague. And so this year we have the option, it's a similar model that we've done in the past. There are 5 full afternoons. So people can offer 2 sessions, 3 sessions, or 5 sessions. So that way it's not just a one-off, right? It's really supporting that idea of it's not a one and done. You're going to engage in something and you're going to do it for at least 2 afternoons, if not more. We are still collecting, so staff members are still submitting their proposals for faculty-led. So far, I've listed just a few of the topics that people have submitted that they have interest in continuing on their professional development in those areas. It's always nice to kind of see what our staff are putting in and then what we as a district are focusing on and to see kind of the alignment or sometimes the disalignment, right? And then being able to kind of sit back and say, what do we need here in this moment? And do we need to change or pivot in any way? So more faculty-led proposals are coming in and will continue to come in until about December when we officially publish what those workshops and offerings will be. So if you look at our PD calendar as a whole, we are 4 days, technically 3 early release days into our PD plan. More to come. It always feels like at the beginning, it's kind of a lot to like jump in, and we always want, and I've had this conversation with our principals, we always want to front load a lot of what we do, but we have to remember that we have to keep it in stride because there's a lot happening at the beginning of the school year. And so we have still more time to go with our staff for that. Thank you very much. That's our thing for this year.
November 15th.
13:30, very good.
Thanks.
And I'm sure we have questions, comments. We won't count that against your time, of
Okay.
course. You came in
Well,
well
it was a
under.
ding and I was like, oh
No.
no. Tuesday morning?
Beth, you always do such a nice job with balancing the choice and the district initiatives so that everybody's got something relevant. It's really, it's a tough thing that districts deal with because when you've got a district-wide initiative like UDL or Wit and Wisdom, you know, districts tend to provide a lot of PD for that and then not consider people that aren't involved with those initiatives, and they get dragged into stuff that's not relevant to them. And, you know, so I'm always so appreciative of how intentional you are of making it important for everybody. I do have a question about how you support teachers with implementing what they've learned. Like, do you have common planning time or PLCs where teachers can continue to process and implement what they've learned in these sessions? Or do you have opportunities to do walkthroughs and see if UDL strategies are being implemented?
Yes, all of the above, yes. I think one thing that is really amazing about our educators is that they invest themselves in the PD that they do. So they're not just doing it to do it because they have to do something, right? They're doing something of their choosing and really diving in and implementing it. And that's the other reason why we do 2, 3, or 5 sessions, right? So they have to come back to the table and say, this is what I did, this is how it went, how do I improve it, right? So having those conversations, and that's one thing that I've been very aware of when we're doing PD, of when can we come back or allow for that follow-up conversation to happen. Because that is where a lot of the learning actually happens, right? Is being able to share afterwards and get that feedback from others. And so it happens through the multiple professional development sessions. And then a lot of times teams or departments will do a PD together. And so when they're following up in their grade level meetings or in their department meetings, it comes up again. And then if something is very cross-curricular in a way that it crosses departments or it crosses grade levels, a lot of times naturally those conversations continue on because it's a unique way for them to work together that they typically don't always get. And so it's an opportunity to actually connect with someone else who's typically not one that they are always talking to for lesson planning purposes or anything of that sort.
And then, so when you've been doing walkthroughs, what have your results been so far with how teachers are implementing UDL?
So that's, I mean, we're living in it so we can really be diving deeper into it, right? I think with UDL, a lot of times the very obvious is the voice and choice, particularly that choice, right? And so a lot of times in the first couple of years, we saw a lot of options happening, right? Of you can do this project and you can do it through a poster, you can do it through paper, you can do it, right? Which is great. I mean, that's a great way, right, of using the UDL framework, but we can be diving deeper into it. And that's where we've seen a bit more of the very intentional diving deeper, which has been really great and reason why we're living in it. So we can continue that. And so educators that are kind of fully embracing are able to share that. And then sometimes we'll say, hey, do you want to offer a faculty-led on that topic? Or for a cross-district PD, would you be willing to offer a workshop on that? Because I think sometimes we just don't know the amazing things that we're doing in our classroom, because as educators, you don't always get the opportunity to see what the people down the hall are doing. And I think sometimes that's a really amazing PD. And just highlighting really and empowering some of our educators. Sometimes they just don't know how good they are.
It's
It's not
isolating.
really good ones.
Well, I mean, and I think it's especially important because the district uses UDL as a tool for differentiating instruction for special students with disabilities. So, but that feels like a more intense use of UDL than just the choice boards.
Exactly.
So, you know, I think that's, I'm glad you're focusing on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who's next?
I just want to say really quickly, I'm really glad that you have the ability to have all the resources there for the teachers throughout the year so they can kind of chip away at it if they don't have time kind of in your PD time for them to, if they're interested to have it. So I appreciate that.
I really appreciate the collaboration that you discussed. Because we're going to teach collaboration, we should do it for
Exactly, and model it, and that's where, I mean, these, you know, the playlist was such a collaborative, and for me, and I said this to some of our staff afterwards, and they were like, I really liked that, I was like, oh, good, like. Because sometimes you just don't know if it's gonna be a total flop or not, right? It's like a lesson plan, sometimes you don't know until you try it, right? And so I'm glad we had success, and now it's like, okay, how can we enhance it, right?
This is such a robust offering and I think really incredible, especially in this climate of sort of educator burnout, to continue to offer opportunities for leadership, to spark the joy in learning, like just keep learning instead of I've been doing this forever and it's getting more and more challenging. I remember that Littleton is really good about like the professional development funds we offer for teachers if they want to like go out and do something. Do you see that being used, and do you see like educators bringing back stuff that they're doing outside?
Yeah, so in a couple different ways. Sometimes it's educators are coming back and directly implementing something in their own classroom. And sometimes they're coming back and doing that, but then also offering workshops during district PD day or faculty led, or even at like staff meetings when they have share outs. So being intentional about that, right? So that way we can all benefit from the learning that's happening.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's also tricky because you want to send everyone to a conference, but you can't, because you can't have the entire grade level out, or you can't have the entire department out, right? And so having some go with the understanding whoever's going is coming back and sharing that knowledge with their team, with their department, with their school. Yeah. And sorry, your first question, our staff members are definitely utilizing the tuition reimbursement program. It sometimes ebbs and flows because it goes with when their recertification is. And so sometimes we have one year where there's a lot of recertifications, and those are years, typically the year before, we see an increase of access to those funds.
Yeah.
But typically those funds are utilized.
Can you talk a little bit about the building based on 9/11 and 9/25? Some of the, maybe I missed that, but it seems like we talked about all the other formats,
Yeah,
but what's typically being covered on those days?
so those are the principals and the assistant principals get to decide and facilitate those PDs. So those are very specific to what the school is doing. So a lot of times it'll be, right, the district-based days are kind of like our strategic plan and making sure that that gets put in there. The school-based days are the opportunity for the schools to dive into their SIPs and have their action steps to meet those goals, right? So for example, Russell Street and Shaker Lane use those days for wit and wisdom, for literacy. So implementation of a new curriculum, which you heard a couple weeks ago, Colin and Michelle shared that was a goal for them this year. We also had another example, Dr. Hirschberg at the middle school came and did a presentation, trauma-informed practice, relationship building at the middle school. And so those days are opportunities for our principals to dig in and try and take some action steps that are a lot more specific to school that may not cross. So it's convenient that Shaker and Russell Street were able to cross, right? They can collaborate. A lot of times it's school-based, specifically what's happening there. And so there's 3 of those days, and we have per discussion with our admin team. The first 2, the past couple of years, we've always made school-based so that they can front load their school information, get that kind of out there, get that moving, get people kind of up and going and engaged there. Then we shift into our district-based days, then we shift into faculty-led. And then what we've learned that we like a lot is ending with a school-based day. So they're able to revisit as a school faculty back together for professional development of their administrators choosing.
Got it. Thank you. You mentioned giving the staff and faculty an opportunity to work one of these breakout sessions at the tri-district PD day. Is it like a third, or does Littleton offer more workshops and maybe something like, I was just kind of curious as to how the burden is on the breakout. Like, what's our participation in that?
Varies year to year, right? I will say Littleton consistently has a solid number of educators that step up to the plate to offer workshops. This year we have about 12 to 15 workshops that are being facilitated by our staff members. Sometimes it's 2 members collaborating together on a workshop. We also have some who are offering more than 1 workshop. And so they're offering multiple. A lot of times it does vary year to year. This upcoming year, Air Shirley and Littleton are doing maybe a few more workshops than Harvard is offering. It can change. It all depends on kind of what the professional learning and the focus is of the district and what individual educators have also done before.
Sounds good. Sorry, I don't know if you guys have some of the same questions, but I like the clarification. I like the 2 session, 3 session, 5 sessions. So I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. If you sign up for the 5 session, it's like 1 topic, you're getting it continuously. I loved your point about coming back and revisiting it, because I do think that everyone gets access to the same information at the same time. And then some folks are probably better at implementing it than others, right? We're all different. And so when you come back for session 2, session 3, and you start hearing about what maybe some folks have done, and they're like, geez, you know what, I could have done that. Or if it's that, like, I didn't think of doing that.
Exactly.
So if you don't sign up for the 5, you start with 2, and then that ends, and then you're going to end up with 3. So it's not like I can just choose 1 here and there. And okay, so there's some consistency.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then I think maybe my last question is, who are the wit and wisdom implementers for the professional development if it's kind of new district wide?
Yeah.
Have we brought in outside folks, or is it the people that perhaps piloted it, or?
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah, great question. So the publisher is Great Minds, and so we've brought in the publisher in order to kind of dive in. What's nice, great. Sometimes publishing PD is really just a how, right? Of here's the book, here's the structure of it, this is how you do it. Great Minds prefaces it with the why of why are you making the shift to this curriculum, right? Like, why did you decide to do this? Because it has these benefits to it. And then it goes into the how. And so we have front loaded our educators with that PD of going through with Great Minds. Another piece that we're kind of something different that we're trying with the implementation of Wit and Wisdom is that we've created an implementation team. And so that team was formed at the end of last school year, and we met several times over the summer to discuss and go through PD ourselves. So that team consists of our reading specialists at both Russell Street and Shaker Lane, as well as grade level representation from every single grade level, K to 5. And so those educators come together and have done extra professional learning from Great Minds, as well as professional learning from a neighboring district who's implemented it for a couple of years. They have a coach who has offered a lot of great kind of process points. And so we brought that individual in over the summer in order to kind of help us figure out how do we lesson plan here? What are the best strategies from people who are actually implementing it? And then our implementation team also has done a lot of work with regards to teaching their colleagues and supporting their colleagues for the implementation. And so we have not done an implementation team like this before. So we are kind of testing it out of how does it work with regards to that. And I can't say enough great things about our implementation team. They have really done a lot of heavy lifting to make it work and to be the cheerleaders for their teams, because it's implementing something new is not always the most fun, exciting thing, right? It's hard. And so they're the ones that are the cheerleaders and making sure that it is happening at their grade levels. And so it has been a mix of the publisher PD, another outsider who is actively implementing the professional development, and then our own team leaders or implementation leaders who are doing it. So we're trying to get, again, multiple perspectives to come in to help with that learning.
Thank you very much. I think you guys do a great job of professional development.
100%.
I believe, I'm not speaking for all of us, but I believe all 5 of us value this tremendously within the district. And it's because you guys take it so seriously and you get so much out of it. Because as parents, some of us as young parents, we see the other side of it, right? So like Russell Street and Shaker Lane, like it's a big problem with the kids getting off the bus at whatever it is, noon. And then if you happen to be on Russell Street and you watch the sidewalks, there's like 150 kids headed to the point. And it's like the poor people at the paper store. Like, you know, like it's
Well, it's too
just-
bad Party City shut down. I mean,
Yes, exactly.
They were the go-to place for a while,
So, you know, it's necessary. I believe you get a lot out of it. I believe the pros far outweigh the cons. But we're living the other side of it. But for now, continue to support it 100%. Love it.
Awesome, thank you.
So, great.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's even-
Right.
Jason's not even here, so.
I know.
Right?
He'll be so proud. All right, that wraps up the presentation portion of the evening. We'll pause for a second opportunity for interested citizens. See if anyone would like to have a chat. No, hearing none. We'll go through subcommittee reports, PMBC / Shaker Lane Building Committee update. Want to tackle that one first?
Want to start with Sugar Lane?
Well, it's
Start
like,
that now, or
unless you
wanna-
have a separate PMBC topic
There's
to
nothing-
cover.
Yeah, there's nothing,
Okay.
yeah, Sugar Lane is, I am the.
Yeah, let's
Sugar
go
Lane
through that.
Representative on PMBC. So we'll start with
Let's
Sugar
start
Lane.
with Shaker Lane.
All right. First, I wanted to start with some dates because we've had two big, or two meetings that were open for the public. October 16th and October 23rd. Those were held here at the police station for the public to come in and ask questions. Did a presentation on the design, the scope of work, the needs of the elementary school, locations, funding options, tax implications. There was a kind of ran the full gamut of kind of what the project's going to entail. It's all very rough. It's not anything set in stone yet, but it is a starting point for us to get the community involved, to start to get that information out there. So there are more opportunities for the community to get involved. So I wanted to go over those. So we have, let's see, 2 community tours that are going to be scheduled for Shaker Lane on November 13th and the 19th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. So during those times, we'll be able to walk through Shaker Lane, I believe, and there'll probably be some information, hopefully some type of information on what we have designed for the new project. So for any interested citizens who want to see the shape of Shaker Lane, kind of what the reasons that we might need to get it replaced and start working on it, that would be a good opportunity to really get your eyes on that. Also on those same dates, a half hour before, from 6 to 6:30, there will be 2 30-minute Shaker Lane Building Committee meetings that will be open to the public as well. So those will be Zoom meetings. So if you can't make it to the school or you're interested in getting some information about the project, there's still 2 more Zoom meetings that will be open to the public on schedule right now. So we have lots of meetings, so that's what we have on the agenda for right now.
I'm glad to know about this because I can get it into the town newsletter that comes out
Yeah,
November
Michelle just sent it
1st.
to us today, so.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really great to know.
Yeah.
And do you need people to RSVP for those
I
tours?
don't know just yet. I can't imagine that we would need RSVPs. It's an open meeting to the public. It's an open
Yeah.
session to the public.
Well, it's just that when we did the tour a couple days ago, they wanted us to RSVP so that they.
That was because
That was
it was during
specific.
school
Rent the
session.
building and-
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah.
perfect. So I'll put this in
This
the
is fine,
newsletter
open
then.
building.
I'm really glad to have those dates. Thank you.
I think there's
So
just a sign up so that we have a rough idea of numbers, but anyone would be welcome to just show up and join.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And let's see, I'm trying to go through all of the information. There's lots of information. There is a Shaker Lane building landing page that we have on the LPS site for anyone who's looking for more information. We're gonna be getting an FAQ up there, so that will be addressing a lot of the questions that have come up in all of our meetings. So if you just kind of want a quick shot of what the project looks like and have some questions answered, that's going to be launched fairly soon. We're still working on that, but the landing page is there for people. Another big date is October 29th is town meeting. Lots of important topics being spoken about there, but we will be presenting again on the building project there. I think we have about 10 minutes to present. It will be, I think, a lot of what we've already spoken about at the past 2 meetings here. Scope of the project, funding, options, tax implications potentially. I think they're still kind of working on that. So that's an important one to go to as well, if you're looking for more information. So that's October 29th. I don't know what the time is. Is that usually at like start at
It starts at 7
7? Yes.
and we're first.
I think those are like some big dates that I wanted to get out there, but do you guys
Sure.
have any questions or anything?
So, 2 public tours, if I heard you correctly.
Yep.
Elaine and I went on a private tour, but it was public. And we got to see the school, in use, which was great, all like the cute smiling faces of the kids. And as a parent, like my kids just went through Shaker Lane, so we're effectively out of Shaker Lane. And I'll just share this with the audience who might be listening, like you drop your kid off at the bus. They're gone for 6.5 hours, which is awesome. They're in great hands. They learn something, they get well fed, they come home and they tell you school was great. You don't get to see the behind the scenes. Like it's like going to a Broadway show and then getting to peek behind the curtain. Like the performance is wonderful, but you would have no idea of the chaos that takes place behind the screen. So we got firsthand, literally people shoved in closets. The music room
Not
is,
students.
no, staff.
Students around
Again,
the hallways.
The student
Yeah.
experience, like the student experience is largely good. I mean, there are a couple places where it's rough. But yes, there are like highly educated, highly compensated staff members.
In offices.
Yeah, that are in closets and we're calling them offices because we're trying to make it sound like an office. The music room's like substantially undersized. Like I cannot believe that 25 people even fit in this and they're gonna play music. It's like your worst nightmare, right? If you had to take music in this room. Children they have no other place to offer pullout, so they're in the hallways. There's people coming and going. There's observations as to why is that child in the hallway, that type of stuff. I really encourage anyone to take the tour. You won't get to see it firsthand, but whoever's giving the tour, be it Michelle or somebody else, will tell you all these things, and I can attest, like they are true. This is happening.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that. But my questions were about the dates. So I encourage anyone to go on the dates. It'll be eye-opening, and like also the classrooms are mostly well-sized, but technology has changed, and now there's like portable technology being brought into the classroom, which now shrinks the classroom down because it's not up on the wall and there's virtually zero counter space in any classrooms. And these are at the age where it's a lot of hands-on learning. Like this will all get covered in the tour and it was fascinating.
Mhm.
But my question was, so you folks are gonna have a meeting online right before the tour starts. So
Yeah.
in theory, like people couldn't go to both and none of your Shaker Lane building committee will probably be at the tour because you'll all be remote.
2 30-minute
Meeting's gonna
meetings,
be
6
after.
to 6:30 before community offered tours. So I don't know the logistics just yet of how we're pulling that
I was just wondering, like, maybe you could have it in
in
person
person there.
there. And then, I don't know, it just seems like none of you folks would be able to go on the tour.
Yeah.
And you
We've
folks
all
are
toured
probably
it.
pretty, what's that?
So we've all toured it.
No, but
Yeah.
if, in the event that there is like a decent turnout from the public and
Yeah.
questions get asked.
Yeah.
Like you folks are decent folks to try to answer those questions.
I believe that meetings are going to be actually.
Okay,
And then broadcast remotely.
Yes,
okay, so the folks will be in person.
we're working that out.
It's a
Yeah.
public meeting, people could go. They'll get the information, there'll be a tour, and along the tour, there's a lot of Q and A. There perhaps is gonna be like a Q and A either before or after the tour to kind of cover some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
that all makes sense.
Yeah.
And for town meeting, my understanding is 10-minute presentation. For anyone that's listening, we won't have the opportunity for questions because it's town meeting and hopefully there's 300 people there, maybe there's 500, who knows, but we want to respect everyone's time. Like, we don't want to derail the meeting with Shaker Lane. So it's 10 minutes of information and there's like a year ahead of us to get all these questions figured out and all this planning and all this good stuff. And we're following that up with 2 tours where you can ask all the questions you want, but just not on the floor of the town meeting because that would derail the meeting entirely.
But the Studio G also has a couple different ways for you to ask questions or provide input, like there'll be a link to a Google form where you can say whatever you want. And they were also going to have like a physical box with like old school.
QR code.
Yeah, a QR code. Oh,
Yeah,
they were
so, yeah,
making
there'll
it
be a
sound like
QR
it was
code on the
a shoebox
town.
that you were.
Yeah,
putting-
on the town meeting presentation,
it-
there'll be a QR code, which I believe will either have the presentation or will take you to the FAQ. Something that's really easy for people just who are there to access the information. And then you can go to the landing page right now. And there is already a questionnaire there for people to fill out. If there's what would you like the Shaker Lane project team to know? So that's a way to get some community input as well.
But I just wanted to build on what Justin was saying about the tour, that I think some of the messaging has been that, Shaker Lane is overcrowded. Like that's sort of the broad stroke, but that can lead one to think that class sizes are too big, or, but it's not that at all. It's just that education now is just so different from even when I was teaching. Like, we didn't have all of these specialists that serve as interventionists before, right in the moment. Even like, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, BCBAs. I was really impressed with it. They had a de-escalation room, if a student was dysregulated, that there was a place where they could go until they felt like they could go back into the classroom. And it wasn't like a punishment. It was just like, oh, this is a better setting for you right now. When you're feeling better, and all of that takes space. And it's all so important for what we now know are best practices in education. So, but I don't think anybody was thinking about that when the Shaker Lane building was built, or right, or even when the remodel happened. So I think somehow in the messaging, it's important to say that that is the reason why we're bursting at the seams. It's not that our class sizes are getting enormous and that, the general population is suffering, because clearly they're not. Like, there's wonderful things going on in that school, but also such kudos to how the admin there is managing this process for staff, because morale is really good in such high pressure situations, like, how do you keep your morale up if your office is a closet? But you walk through and everybody's making the best of it and putting like little lights in their space and trying to make it look cheerful. And you just catch the vibe of everybody pulling together in a difficult situation. So that was one of my big takeaways. And I agree with all the things that you said. It's really eye-opening when you get a chance to go through there.
I think Principal Kane had like 12 moves this past summer, reshuffling space. And we went through the entire building, and like, I could not think of a possible 13th thing that could have been done. So like, in the event that there needs to be another, like, every square inch of that building is being used. I mean, it's being, the building's being abused to the status that it's in, like, so if, anyone that's like, they'll be fine, we should just renovate, we should just do something, like, please come to the tour and see it. And then if you still have that opinion, fine, like, we're gonna agree to disagree, and that's totally acceptable. But you gotta come and see it firsthand before you have that opinion of everything's gonna be fine. So, Janine?
I wanted to ask the committee in the spirit of really reaching out to the community and to getting as much cooperation or getting as many people involved as we possibly can. Would it be okay for us to have a space in each of our school committee meetings to accept any questions that come in, I mean, as immediately as we can? Maybe we can't answer them. Maybe we need to take them to other professionals, but to just like, okay, there's a school committee meeting tonight, and if you want to email, post a question that we will see, that we will read out. Maybe we'll be able to answer it, maybe we won't. People are always, welcome to our meetings. Just like really lean into, this is a big deal for the town. It's a huge facility and a big part of the town that we are changing up. Changes is something we all need to live with a little bit. So let us help you. And I'm not really sure exactly what this looks like, but I'm just like trying to think of ways to really reach out to our community and to be sure people know that they are always welcome to bring in questions, their concerns, what do they want to talk about. Let's give the whole community the opportunity over this next year to really talk this through and understand what's happening. So I'm open to questions, but that was my thought of like every school committee meeting for the next year. Okay, here's our one little place on the agenda. And we will look at, were there any questions online? Even if we, like I said, even if we don't have the answer, let's bring those issues up. I'm just throwing some ideas out, but you know, you brought up that you've seen another community handle this really well, and it seemed to be because there was so much outreach to the community.
Right.
So I was just brainstorming what ideas.
Yeah, Gina, I like the idea. There's two opportunities for interested citizens. If someone submits something to you, like I can't make the meeting, or geez, I wouldn't want to take the podium, or
Mhm.
I don't know how to get online. You can, by all means, say, I received this. I think it's a good question. I'd like to share it. And hopefully we would have, you had it in advance, so hopefully we would have an answer for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I meant for all of us,
Yeah, but yeah.
We are
Yes.
ambassadors.
Yep.
And, I just hope over the next year to be really accessible to the community and to really, have this conversation be very robust and have everyone feel like that they've had their thoughts, their questions all answered respectfully and, like they've been part of this process.
This will be the biggest project Littleton has seen, so we need to have as much community engagement as possible. It can't just kind of fall into the lap of taxpayers who don't really know that it's happening. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else? No, I think those
What
are.
are those last, so I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I had prior commitments, other stuff going on. I wasn't able to make either meeting. What was the attendance like?
And pretty low.
Pretty
I mean,
low.
I had to sign in on both of them, but it was pretty
Yeah.
low for
Well,
them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a joint, you mean like the one last night?
Yes,
Yeah,
Last
I mean,
night,
it was just the board members.
just the boards.
It was,
But there
yeah.
were maybe
There's
two
board
people
members and a
that
couple of
didn't-
community
Yeah.
members.
Two interested
Yeah,
citizens.
yeah.
And, the previous
people
week, I think
online.
there were 4 or 5 people
Yeah. there was-
that came to watch.
Okay.
And to ask questions and to comment.
Mhm.
And so I'm not sure it sounded like it was put together as a joint board and maybe there's this meeting, this is for you, all the citizens. If you have a question,
It was two people we've seen before.
Good. All set there?
Set.
Great. Budget subcommittee. Let's see, I can report that I have followed up with the chair of the finance committee as it relates to our conversation about the financial policies working group discussion. So Mr. Venuti had a chance to watch our meeting. He says, yep, seems like we're all kind of talking the same language. That's, probably something we can work through. Why doesn't he offer a revision, or he and I collaborate on revision, bring it back so we can finally put it to bed and ratify it and be done with it.
Oh, good.
So, that's good there. And then in terms of our budget subcommittees, we do have our next meeting scheduled, I
yes.
believe, right? Unless one's
I'm
come
gonna
and
say
gone.
November 5, but
Yeah,
that,
so it's scheduled. And at that meeting, we will, dive a little deeper into cost centers and take a look at the capital projects and what our use of revolving funds is and all that fun stuff. Do you need anything to add on that?
No, the next meeting was.
It's on my comments, so. Do you have anything to add on that, or kind of hit it?
No.
Okay. Moving on to policy subcommittee.
We do have a policy for proposed first reading today. There is, well, let me just point out what the revisions are in this, and it's really to bring it sort of up to date with legal terms and sort of connected to where we are now, but it's on the screen, thank you. So there are a couple places where I think it's towards the bottom where it says pregnancy
Status.
That is being Dorothy, this is not though the updated one, right? Because pregnancy status is what we're proposing
That's
to.
the Oh,
Is it not pregnancy related condition?
Policy.
yeah, but I also, this is the one that had veteran status and it got taken out and then you sent us a message that was a typo?
Yeah, veteran status is not on here, and that's a typo. Oh, I see it. Okay, sorry. I couldn't, the glare was on there. So where it says gender identity, pregnancy, pregnancy-related conditions, pregnancy status. That is the main sort of update from what the previous policy was. Like Janine said, what we actually noticed was that in the previous policy, it's also included veteran status, and that is actually missing in this one. We do need to change that, but this is a first reading,
Okay,
so we can come back with that revision in the next one.
Does this wording originally come from Mask?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, it's very repetitive, but I imagine the lawyer decided it had to be that way.
And this is really to update
Yeah.
for the current legal precedent.
I think it came to our attention because at one point there was a question about veteran status and some of the other, and I'm glad they're gonna put that back in. It turned out to be a typo.
Yeah.
So,
who is our compliance officer? Glenn? Okay.
Did you volunteer yourself?
Voluntold.
Yes, it's.
Designated.
Yes,
Yes.
it's designated.
Okay, that would have been my
So
guess.
those other duties as a signed clause in the contract.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds connected to Title IX.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is.
right. It's an update because of that.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have any questions. It's the first reading and see if anyone has any comments or questions, but we'll see it again next meeting.
Mhm.
Yes.
And we can update it for next meeting then. Right.
We will vote the update through next meeting.
Okay.
Yep. Very good. Is there a feedback update?
Do you need a motion to accept the first reading?
Oh, I'm sorry. Little out of practice here.
Yeah, I move that we accept the first reading of policy AC.
Motion made by Elaine,
Second.
seconded by Vino. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That makes it official. We'll see it next meeting. All right, no CPAC update. I'll ask if there's any other subcommittee reports or new business before the school committee. I'll announce that our next meeting is November 14th, 2024, 7 p.m. Littleton Police Station, and I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
Sure.
Motion made by Stacy,
Second.
seconded by Janine. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We have adjourned.